Over the last 100 years, there's absolutely no doubt that no other game animal in Africa has had the amount of film, ink, or lead thrown in his direction as our friend the Cape buffalo. Over the years, we've spent literally tens of thousands of man-hours hunting and filming this great game animal. Now today's show is going to take a little bit different twist. Instead of following one hunter on a particular safari for buffalo, we're going to take a very broad look at the great, unparalleled sport that is hunting Africa's Cape buffalo. What is a trophy buffalo? You know, I've spent a great deal of my adult life chasing buffalo just about everywhere they exist in Africa, both for our television series and for our DVD projects, as well as being a very avid buffalo hunter myself. Another capacity that I serve in, maybe the most important of all, is I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people over the years go out and find a buffalo hunt for themselves. And you know, putting a buffalo hunt together for a guy that's maybe going on his first one is a pleasure, because he's about to experience one of life's really great hunting treats, the hunt for Cape buffalo. And of course, it's a given that everybody wants a really big buffalo, a trophy buffalo. So let's take just a little bit of time and discuss what is a trophy buffalo. As far as trophy quality, the most important trophy criteria on any buffalo is to try to shoot a mature buffalo. And generally in buffalo, that's going to happen. I consider a buffalo that's in the 8-year, 9-year category to be on the very young end of full maturity. But certainly a buffalo of 8 to 9 years old is a mature buffalo. And if he's got a good horn configuration that you're happy with, that's a buffalo you ought to take. Second, of course, is width. Width, again, is something that's very nice to look at. Everybody, including Dave, gets excited when I see a really wide buffalo, but just make sure that he's got the age. Out of all the professional hunters it's been my pleasure to know and even hunt with in Africa, all the good ones, the guys that I really respect, share a common theme when it comes to buffalo hunting, that no matter how wide a buffalo may be, he is not a trophy buffalo unless he is fully mature. I bet if you line 100 respected professional hunters up, I bet 90% of the professional hunters would take the shorter width, but the biggest boss. Big boss is always an indication of age on a buffalo. I don't think there's a whole lot more impressive than a buffalo bull with a really big boss. I always look for a big boss over width. And finally, the horn configuration. Just like white-tailed deer, buffalo are different. Genetics play a big part of that. Area plays a big part of that. East Africa tends to find buffalo with the horns that drop further down before they sweep back. The further you go south, you tend to have buffaloes that I call airplane buffaloes. The horns just kind of come straight out. They may curl back. One's not right, one's not wrong. Beauty is truly in the eye of the beholder on buffaloes. Now, with all that said, there is absolutely no doubt that when you sneak in, you've been cutting the wind, and all of a sudden you've made contact with this herd, and you've got your glasses up there, there is nothing, and I mean nothing in buffalo hunting that'll get your heart racing like the sight of a really big, wide bull. And to the inexperienced hunter, and maybe until your PH has a real good look at him, they may think that's our bull. But a lot of times on very close examination with binoculars, you'll find, although you're looking at a wide bull, he's a little bit on the young side. He's not fully mature. And I'm going to show you some of the indicators that we look for when we're trying to size up a bull. Is he a shooter? Should we wait? The buffalo hunter will often hear this term soft boss, or he's got a gray boss. And what that is, that's a spongy material between, right in the middle of the buffalo's forehead. This is where his horns actually grow. And when a buffalo is fully mature, that will be a hard helmet. It will start creeping towards the middle. Now I will say this, and here's a good example of the bull I'm talking about. Not all buffalo bulls' bosses are going to meet in the middle. Sometimes they are hard polished, they are fully hard. You may be looking at a 12 or 13-year-old buffalo, but he may have a 1, 2, 2.5 inch gap between his horns. That's okay. That certainly qualifies as a trophy buffalo because he's an old bull. But generally, when you look at a gray bossed bull, and like look at this guy right here. I mean, he's got nice horns, he's fairly wide, but you see that gray spongy looking area? And on closer examination with binoculars, you'll see hair coming out of that. That is an immature buffalo. I don't care if he's 45 inches wide. That's a younger bull that certainly should be allowed to mature, and one of these days, he's going to be a great, great trophy. Now, understanding, it's not always to see this, and sometimes when you get in tight, you can just see a swoop of a horn, a bull will turn, you'll get different angles on him. But again, this is really, at this point, this is the professional hunter's job. Let him, you get ready on the rifle in case he gives you the go-ahead, but it's the trained eye of a professional hunter. It's gonna sometimes spot these very, very slight differences between a bull and a really, really good bull. Your professional hunter knows his area. He knows the game, he knows the movements, and most importantly, he knows the trophy potential in that area. Very good idea to sit down at the start of the hunt and say, this is what I'm really looking for. For instance, if a hunter says, I've been on a couple of safaris, I've shot a 38-inch bull, I would really, really like to hold out for something in the 40-inch class. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've done that myself. But it's a bad idea to come on your first buffalo hunt and, think that you're going to go away with a top 10 animal. I mean, you do get lucky every now and then, it happens. But make sure your expectations are based on reality in the area that you're hunting. And there's nobody that's a better guide of that than your professional hunter. Listen to your guy. You've hired him to do a very specific job. That is conduct a buffalo hunt that's safe, that's fun, and hopefully at the end is going to provide you a chance at the kind of buffalo you came to take. One of the true givens in hunting, and I know it, and your professional hunter knows it, and your outfitter knows it, is that you want to shoot a trophy buffalo. That's truly a given. But you have to understand that not all countries or all areas produce the same size or trophy quality of buffalo. Very first thing that every hunter needs to do is to shop and compare, and there's no better place on planet Earth to do that than the Dallas Safari Club conventions in January. At the DSC convention, you're going to meet dozens and dozens of outfitters that offer buffalo hunting for all the different species across Africa. When you're traveling overseas to an area that you may not be familiar with, getting to sit down and talk to somebody that has been there, that's done that knows the area, knows the game, knows the trophy quality, has the answer to every question you may have, that, my friend, is the best way to make the first step on putting a great buffalo hunt together for yourself. You know, as a booking agent, nearly every phone call, if it's a serious hunter, ends with, do you have some references that I can talk to? And let me tell you, I'm always happy to hear that. I run a great outfit, we run good camps in good areas, so I think it's an advantage for a potential hunter to talk to a client that's actually hunted in our area, and most outfitters that I know feel exactly the same way. So it's something that you should take advantage of. You know, a buffalo hunt's still a very affordable hunt. It's been said buffalo hunting is where availability and affordability collide, and I really think that's true. But still, don't expect the best areas, the top PHs, the best concessions for discount prices. You know, look for a quality hunt. If you have to save your money for a few years and go to a better area than charge off to a marginal area this year, believe me, it is worth waiting, and your experience will be far, far better if you'll save a couple of years and go to a really quality area. So what's in store once your boot hits African dirt? Chifuti Safari's professional hunter Mark Villaro breaks down the two most common methods and hunt realities you'll encounter on your buffalo safari.
You've got two main methods that are commonly used, spot and stalk versus tracking. Basically, these methods are dependent on the area and cover that you're hunting. In the Zambezi Valley, most of the areas that I hunt in, you're going to be doing a classic tracking technique. If you're in the Zambezi Delta, you're going to do the spot and stalk. Let's talk about the spot and stalk technique first. This is most commonly used in savanna, mountain, swamp areas, i.e. the Zambezi Delta is a good example. One thing you'll really need and rely on a lot on spot and stalk hunting is a good pair of optics. The difficulty with spot and stalk is trying to get close to the buffalo once you spotted it. In the savannas, trying to work out if there's enough available cover so you can get close. and try and get a shot at the shootable trophy. In the mountains, whether you're actually going to be able to get close enough to that buffalo. In the swamps, it's a totally different story. First of all, whether you'll be able to get to the buffalo itself due to the water that's around, because there's lots of that. Also, what cover's available. Sometimes there's absolutely no cover. Other times you've got 10 to 20 foot high papyrus, which is a big story there.
The hunting world is heading to Atlanta for DSC's 2025 Convention and Sporting Expo, January 9th through 12th. Put the DSC Convention in Atlanta on your calendar.
The next method of hunting buffalo we're going to discuss is actually my favorite. It's tracking buffalo. To me, this is considered the classic technique of hunting buffalo. This method we rely on mostly in Zimbabwe, especially the Zambezi Valley. Basically how this hunt all works, you leave camp, drive the roads looking for tracks or go check the water points, riverbeds. Once you've picked up a set of tracks, you try and assess how fresh these are, whether they're a day old, made last night, early morning. Once you've assessed that they're reasonably fresh and well worth going after, you load up the water bottles in the backpack and off you go. What makes a buffalo move great distances or hold up in an area, it depends really on a few certain factors. The availability of water and food, predator pressure, available cover, whether he feels secure in the habitat that he's found. You never know when you're going to catch up to him. I mean, all the time you're expecting to come around the next bush and there he is. So you've always got to be alert and on the ready for these things. The other thing that may affect the tracking is the actual number of animals you're tracking. If you're tracking a lone dugger boy, and for instance he's got lots of food and water and thick cover close by, it could be a relatively short tracking experience. Whereas if you're tracking a fairly large herd that's been pressurized by hunters or lions, you could be tracking for several hours before you catch up to those buffalo. One of the guys you'll rely very heavily on in a tracking hunt is the actual tracker or trackers. The tracker, his job is to track the buffalo and find them. The trackers have grown up mostly in the bush and they have a very keen sense and perception of the quarry that they are normally following. They have very good eyesight and exceptional hearing, and they are normally in the front, so they actually get to spot the buffalo before we do. The magic of watching a good tracker follow the tracks of a buffalo is often the most memorable part of any safari.
If you're uncomfortable, we can have beans cover you, okay? Stay here. We tracked and tracked and tracked, and then next thing you know, he's coming for us.
Certainly, without a doubt, there is a risk reality when you're hunting buffalo. They have earned themselves a reputation of being one of Africa's most dangerous animals, and not without reason. The buffalo certainly is one of the most tenacious animals you'll ever find. Even with a perfectly placed shot, you will very rarely get a buffalo to drop in its tracks, unless you brain or spine him. Once he's shot, he's going to head for some of the thickest cover he can find, and you're going to have to follow him there. No matter how confident you are about your initial shot, you have to treat every single buffalo that runs away from you with extreme caution, and you have to follow your professional hunter's advice. You have to follow his direction and do what he asks you to do, because his experience has taught him over the years to follow every single buffalo as though it's wounded and ready to attack. Once you start the follow-up, it should be slow, methodical. Every person should know exactly what they should be doing, where they should be looking, what they should be looking out for, and what the signals are from trackers up ahead of them. And be ready for any attack or for any possible sign of danger. What I personally like to do, and my advice to anybody following a wounded buffalo into thick cover, is give it about half an hour just for the bullet to take effect. If it's going to die, it will die in that time. And if it's going to run out of power, it's going to run out of power in that time. But don't go rushing in immediately after a wounded buffalo. Rather give it good time to expire first. I, like many other professional hunters, will actually ask you to put in an insurance shot, even if that buffalo looks dead. Because I tell you what, it's the dead ones that will get up and kill you. Bullets really are cheap, so have fun, go ahead, put another shot in, and everybody's going to be happy and safe. You know, me, like most other professional hunters, we all do want you to shoot and kill your own bull. But once you're following up a wounded, dangerous animal into thick cover, whatever you do, don't hamstring or handcuff your professional hunter from taking a shot if you're not in a position to shoot your own bull, because it is a dangerous situation and you really do need to take care of the situation as quickly as possible. Not every buffalo gives a death bellow, but once you've heard it once, you'll never forget it. And it certainly is music to a professional hunter's ears. Even if you do hear that death bellow, it certainly is a wise decision to walk up to that buffalo with caution, because he may just have a companion hanging around there, and a lot of times these buffalo will have one of his friends hanging around and guarding that bull that's down on the ground. So wait until your professional hunter actually walks up and touches that buffalo, make sure it's safe to approach, then go up and have a look at your trophy. Standing firm and shooting straight will always win the day. A wounded buffalo certainly can be very, very dangerous. And it may not have been wounded by you. It could have been wounded by somebody else, or it could even have been wounded by a lion or another buffalo in a fight. So I'd like you to have a look at this piece of footage where another professional hunter, Len Taylor, actually had a completely unprovoked charge. I want you to see how fast and how quick those buffalo are when they come through. Len managed to get in a self-defense shot as the buffalo came past. Luckily enough, this was enough to turn the buffalo and stop it from hitting anybody. When they were recovering the buffalo, they found that this buffalo had been wounded by lions, and that was the reason that this buffalo was acting the way it did. You just never know with buffalo, and you always have to be very careful.
Over the last 15 years, our team at Safari Classics Productions has pursued just one goal, and that's to bring our television viewers, as well as our DVD customers, the very best in African big game adventure. Dangerous game has always been our passion, and one that has come with highs as well as heartbreaks. Capturing real-time safari action, from the first track to the hunt's climax, is only one part of our never-ending mission. Over the years, we have endeavored, with endless help from our friends in the professional hunting fraternity, to teach as well as entertain as we tackle the different dangerous game of the dark continent. Africa is changing, and both the buffalo and we hunters have adapted to those changes. Yet one thing has not changed, and that's the classic chase that the great wild cattle of Africa provide those willing to accept their challenge. Many of you have experienced that thrill, some many times, but one day, stretched out on the ground before you, scabby, black, and utterly beautiful, will be your hard-earned prize. From that day forward, no matter what game you pursue in your sporting career, you will know you're a buffalo hunter, a title earned and worthy of a private smile from time to time.